on Liberia. Good morning, wherever you are, especially those of you who are in my region of the United States. But for those in the East Coast, I want to say good afternoon. Good afternoon to folks in Liberia, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is Focus on Liberia, of course, folks, and we want to welcome you. We have Mr. Jerome Gitman in the house. Mr. Gibman will say he is an unabashed member of the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change. I am no position but a host here at Focus on Liberia. In this edition of our program On Point, I will be questioning Mr. Jerome Gibman on trending national and hard political issues unfolding in the country. Mr. Jerome Gidman is in hot water here. Mr. Edward Doe is not here because of some engagement, and I'm here filling in, but I will be asking the tough questions on the hot national issues unfolding. Again, my name is Anthony Shea hosting. This is Focus on Liberia on our program On Point. Comfortably seated in the hot seat is Mr. Jerome Gitman there with his Propol cup. But I just want to let him know that Propol cup not going to give our people a cup of rice. So let's get to the issue. Mr. Gitman, welcome to Focus on Liberia and On Point. How you doing today?
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony, Mr. Sia. It's always a pleasure being on your show. I love the debate. Even though you are a closeted opposition, we accept you as you are. You are my brother from Grand Crew. We love you. And we come in all colors and sizes and shapes. But we are all members of the same family. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Mr. Jerome Gibman there trying to wrap the rope around my neck, calling me opposition when I'm not. I am a talk show host. I am no position, and my job here at Focus on Liberia is to always ask the questions. And sometimes when these questions come so hard from me, people see me in different jacket. I'm not. But let's get strictly to it because we have 1 hour to do that. The hot political issues we are discussing. Number one, the debate between Thomas Fowler and Daros Dillion. Then we will be talking briefly about the autopsy report. There has been pictures of election ballot paper boxes flying on social media. Is there any truth in that? If so, are we in trouble here early before the election even started? And also, we will be looking at some updates on the campaign that is ongoing. On one hand, the Coalition for Democratic Change, that's the CDC, and the CPP, that's the Collaborating Political Parties. Which of the two political groupings are doing excellently well so far, in your opinion? Mr. Gibman said he got the questions. I mean, he has the answers, but I have the questions. Mr. Gibman, on our first issue, the debate between Thomas Fowler and Daros DeLong. There is an argument as to who won the debate. So my first question is, first of all, what do you make of that debate?
Uh, the I was a little disappointed in the arrangement of the debate.
Mhm.
Uh, for those of us who are accustomed to the old style, I would have preferred to have seen the debate in an intellectual forum, like maybe at a university center, maybe the pavilion, and I would have preferred that the Liberian News Agency or the different media outlets in collaboration would have hosted this debate where it would have been more controlled and we will have asked questions of relevance of interest to our people. But habit, they did what they had to do, they worked with what they had to work with. It wouldn't have been my style and my choosing, but that's what it is. It's a beginning, it's a first step, and every mile begins with the first step.
Thank you, Mr. Gaiman. I want to share some agreement here that it was totally organized, but at the same time, recognizing that debate is something that has been lacking pretty much in our political discourse. So, for that institution, to have taken that giant step in organizing it, though it was poor, though that did not represent Liberia, that did not speak well for Liberia. But hey, that's all we got. And to your point that you have love for media institutions to have gotten involved with the organization and the execution of the debate, I mean, no one stops them. No one is stopping them. We have PUL that should make a part of a culture to organizing debates when elections are coming around. PUL is following our hands. So even though I disagree with the poor organization, I think at least they started something. We can only hope that we all can build on it. But they can come to focus on Liberia and we can show them how we do it. So quickly, to the debate itself, in your opinion, was there a winner? If so, who won?
Well, it was a clear winner. I think Thomas-Fallah won the debate clearly on several points. First of all, there have been this build-up to the premise that nobody can debate Darius Dillon. Darius Dillon himself been on the air several times where he boasted that he had debated the former Senator Geraldine Sharif, Dr. Anthony Tappe. He had debated Robert Salih. He had debated the best of the best, and he made mockery out of them. So Thomas-Fallah, who lacked the speaking ability, in his opinion, has and stands no chance. In fact, on my platform and in my mailbox, I have been receiving for the past 3 months from very good friends of mine from the other side that have been saying, why is Thomas-Fallah running away from Darius Dillon? Darius Dillon is a superb debater and so forth. So I was surprised to have seen Thomas-Fallah standing face to face, taking him to task on issues, on numbers, on governance, on government, on public policy. It was like a tutorial for a man who is in the Senate for a whole year, 14 months of speaking. So in my observation, and to everybody else who have witnessed or who have hosted or taken part in the debate, it was a landslide. Right. First of all, let's look at he talked about the policy and procedure on how monies are dispersed, how county development are dispersed, how local government money are dispersed, and who are in charge of dispersing the monies and how the decisions are derived. Darius Dillon were out of the know, and that was surprising. He also accused Mr. Fallah of investing $20,000 to build his private university, when in actuality, the university was $1.3 million. And for you to say that he invested $20,000 to build a university, it was childish. To me, he was very unprepared. If I was he, I was expecting Darius Dillon to bring some return checks from the bank that shows that Thomas-Fallah wrote checks to himself or wrote check in his name, but none of those things were there. It was basically all gossip and innuendos. And I was a little surprised for Mr. Dillon, who professed to be a special debater.
Mr. Gibbon, clearly, during the debate, some people are saying that the way Thomas-Fallah readily answers some of the questions, it had appeared as though he had knowledge of the questions that were being asked. Is there any truth in this? I'm asking this because this is one of the things that many folks are saying on social media and even in other quarters. What's your take on that?
But obviously, Thomas-Fallah made it clear. He says, I have been monitoring, my group have been monitoring Darius Dillon from radio station to radio station to talk show, and social media. And these were his talking points. So what Thomas Fallah did, just like anybody who is prepared to debate, you actually do your homework. So they have been following him. They have recorded his speeches. They have recorded his utterances. I mean, they have gone on Facebook, including myself. We have video clips of everything he has done and said. Out of those clippings, you can deduce or actually produce exactly. You heard I wanted to point. Thomas Fallah said, I have been waiting for this particular question because you just mentioned this on True FM. So he was very meticulous. He was very, very precise as to when and where Darius Dillon were used in these utterances. So yes, the gentleman was prepared.
Well, Mr. Goodman, when Dillon did ask the question as to whether Thomas Fallah had used government funds, Thomas Fallah said at no time. He even said that you can check all the anti-graft institutions. He has never been investigated, not whatsoever, any time in his entire life. But there are reports and there are evidence to it that he was on an investigation. And Darius Dillon, at the time he was at the Justice Ministry, uh, Thomas Fallah had to go before him. And also there was investigation concerning the $20,000 that he, Fallah, got from government in the name of giving scholarship to students. So there was an investigation concerning that. Then there was a China Union money investigation. So to say that there has not been any investigation whatsoever, I don't see any truth in that. What's your take?
Oh, Thomas Fallah is absolutely right. You remember at one time there was a guy they called Terry Genesis. He's very active on social media.
I know Genesis.
He was assistant minister on early government, and he was very, very prolific and very derogatory in his undertakings. And he made a comment that he was crystal clean. And then what we did on the opposition was to do a background check. And we checked that he had been arrested several times. And I personally went to the Department of Correction, to the Maryland area, went to the county sheriff website and printed out his indictment, his arrest, his conviction. We had those as proof and we published them. He could not sue me or anybody for defamation of character because those were public records. So for Darius Dillon, I don't know what position he held at the Justice Minister or the Justice Ministry for someone to appear before him. If that was true, I would expect that Darius Dillon would have brought the proof, the charge sheet, the attendance, when and where and how, and these would have been discussed. But he stood there and said this and that, but had no proof. In fact, he did the people that printed out the list of students did not brief him on what those lists were. And you saw what Thomas Fallah did to him.
Mr. Goodman,
Yes.
we know you to be an apologist of the regime. You are an unembarrassed seditious. Will you have mustered the courage to say that Thomas Fallah did not do well in the debate?
No,
if
no,
that were
I
the
mean,
case?
no, excuse me. I said Darius Dillon did not do well.
Yeah, but I'm asking you, given that you are a seditious and you support Thomas Fallah, if Thomas Fallah did not do well in this debate, will you say it in any way? Because some people have this habit of not saying the truth because they support a side.
Well, the thing is that I come from the intellectual side of the Liberian debate, as well as you.
Right.
You are quite familiar with how debates are done. You are quite familiar with how people are indicted in this country.
Right.
Okay, so these things they are based on record or public records. They are based on facts. And if you wanted to print out anything on me, all you have to do is go to Google or go to many of the websites and you pay only $30. And everything I have done in this country, from the time I entered to where I am now, you will have proof. You can show it to me that this is who this guy is. This is why we are saying for a lawmaker, a prolific talker, like Darius Dillon, that exude the confidence of intellectualism. As far he said, if he was 100 years back, he would have been given a law license because he has been the confidant and a student of law on a certain people, XYZ. So subconsciously, he considers himself a lawyer. That being the case, I expect everything from Darius Dillon to be factual, to be fact-based. And at that debate, he was just talking from the top of his head. And for me and you, if I did that, you would find out to be all innuendos and gossip.
All
So
right,
that's why he.
Mr. Gilman, that's how you see it. But I think the folks on Darius Dillon's side don't see it that way. They too are claiming victory. And so, as a media institution, we are only asking the questions, and this is why you politicians do. You will always say your side is the winner. But let me progress. Staying on Dillion-Fallah, campaign is in full swing. Uh, how you think this thing gonna end?
Well, one of the things that you look at as indicators, okay, we look at trend in the last 4 weeks, the last month of the election. And I'm seeing something that Thomas Fallah should be very hopeful of. When Darius Dillon won the first election, there was a cohesiveness in his camp. That was the four political parties, the different standard bearers, the different party chairs, the different groups, the different pressure groups, the different youth movement were all behind the candidature of Darius Dillon. This time
Well, Mr.
around,
Gibbon, during
you are
that
seeing a
time,
distance.
the CPP had only a single candidate to campaign for because it was only a single senatorial seat at the time. But this time, they have 15 senatorial candidates. So how do you expect the same level of support that Dillon had to be the same when in fact they have to support all their candidates if not equally?
Well, it's a fallacy because it's a level playing field. The opposition to Dillon, the ruling party, also has 15 candidates. So there is no leverage there for anybody. Both of these folks are representing, defending, or proposing to take down the other. So it's 50-50 here. What we saw the last time, we saw
What
on
you
the
mean is
campaign
50-50?
trail.
What is 50-50?
We are also vying for the same 15 seats. If you listen to Mr. Cummings last night, he says that they are going to win all 15 seats. They are going 15 seats. And then you heard the CDC made a pronouncement in Bomi territory that they are doing Operation Octopus. That means they will have tentacles in all 15 counties, and they are running a nationwide campaign to claim 15 seats.
Mr.
So it
Gilman,
is even, it's 50-50.
may I interrupt you, Mr. Gilman? It may be 50-50, sir, on the number of seats being contested for by the two political groupings. But if you look at the financial support that these candidates on both sides are receiving, I don't think it's 50-50. There's accusation that the government is using state resources to finance the campaigns of its candidates, especially Thomas Fallah in Monserrate County. What do you say to this, sir?
Well, again, I'm going to tell you, I cannot, when it comes to innuendo, when it comes to gossip, anybody can say anything. Nobody has shown me any proof. Obviously, the ruling party has resources because they are just the ruling party. And their candidates that are in, most of the candidates that are in the race are also defending. They are incumbents. They have their own independent resources, such as Darius Dillon. Darius Dillon is an incumbent. He also has privileges that the other folks enjoy. They all have access to a huge sum of money. It is just the fact that the ruling party has more. And when you look at it factually, there are less division in the Senate and more opposition in the Senate. So they are supposed to be pooling their resources, but they do not have that cohesiveness that we are talking about, and this makes them
Mr. Gilman, you just said that the government is in power, so it has enormous resources. Are you admitting that they have access to state resources and so they are using it for their candidates to
no,
be elected? Is that what you're saying?
no, they don't. No, I'm not talking about state resources,
Mm-hmm.
but just the mere fact of being an incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it, incumbency has its privileges, and Darrell Dillon will tell you he has access to things now that he never had access to when he was on the outside looking in. So incumbency does have its benefit, fringe benefits.
Mm-hmm.
You can get around, you can move around, you get benefits for. They all get benefits for agricultural break. They have benefits for medical, like Darrell Dillon just admitted the other day. They gave $10,000 for medical break. So if they were pooling those resources and you got 15 candidates, that's 10 times 50, that's $115,000. So yes, being an incumbent comes with fringe benefit, like nobody lied to you.
Mr. Gilman, let's come to this issue of fundraising. You are familiar with this subject. Here
Sure.
in the U.S., candidates raise funds publicly, not in secret. We see Darius Dillon raising funds publicly from his supporters. So we know where the money coming from for his campaign. Unlike Autopsy, we have no idea. We see so much money being spent by the candidate. We have seen endorsement like we never seen before in the history of Liberia. And there are credible information that the endorsements are being paid for. This man been on this endorsement for months now. Where is he getting all this money from? We don't see him raising money.
Well, Mr. Sid, you are a student of political science.
Yes.
You are a student to politics in the United States. When Bloomberg was running, even Donald Trump, he says, "I'm going to put forth $100 million of my own money. I'm willing to spend up to $1 billion of my own money to
But
accomplish
these are
my goal."
billionaires you're talking about, Mr. Gilman. Are you saying that Autopsy is a millionaire and we don't know it?
Yes. Yeah, Autopsy is a millionaire. The mayor, just imagine, the mayor have been elected 3 terms. Okay, 3 terms in the House. You saw his Autopsy University that is, they say, worth $1.3 million. He builds schools, a high school. He built another $2 million, a hospital in District Number 5. Where you think he's getting all this money from? The mayor is a wise investor. We all know that Autopsy had a very humble beginning. He was a plank seller. He was a business person.
Talking about Autopsy being a millionaire yet, what is his assets that he declared to show proof that yes, this man is a millionaire? We have Autopsy is here to declare his asset and make it public for Liberians to know he is a millionaire. So there's question here. What do you think?
Oh, well, yes, and that's a legitimate question. But what does the law say about asset declaration? The asset declaration law does not require you to make your asset public. It requires you to make your declaration to an independent organization, which they have done.
But would it be a crime for an individual in the interest of transparency and accountability to declare their asset because and make it public, so to speak? Because Autopsy is running on his platform called ACID. ACID. He's talking about A, representing accountability. A, representing access. Or C, talking about credibility. I, talking about integrity and development. So when you look at those words, integrity, is it not a good thing to do to make it public, saying you are a man of integrity?
Well, when I was applying to graduate school, the university required a GRE. Okay. I took my GRE and submitted to the institution that the office to which they would wanted me to submit my GRE report. I did that and I met that requirement. If anybody else wanted to know what my GRE score was, is insignificant. I have been transparent enough because I met a requirement of the institution. So transparency in Liberia is very, very exceptional. Some folks may find transparency as being providing your paper, whether it's legit, whether the law calls for that or not in public. So far, nobody has done that. I have not seen Dara
Mr. Gibbons,
Dillon
should transparency
account.
be
I would
perceptional?
like to see it.
Mr. Gibbons, should
Yes,
transparency be
because
perceptional, or you are saying Liberia is an exception or should be an exception? Is that what you're saying?
no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is transparency institution in Liberia have requirements, and those people have met those requirements. So as far as we are concerned, they are transparent. Nobody have come and indicted Dara Dillon or Thomas Falla for not meeting those criteria for the Elections Commission or the transparent requirement. Even when Dara Dillon provided a one flash sheet of paper that he was trying to say it was his asset declaration. It was false. It was fake. When you look at what he presented, he presented asset, but he did not present an income verification, income aspect of the
At least he
transparency
declared
that
his
he
asset and
professed
make
to
it
have.
public, and Thomas Falla
No,
will
no,
not
there is
do
no
that.
such thing.
Don't you see that as a plus for
You
Dallon,
cannot
Mr.
you
Gibbons?
no, you cannot be half pregnant. You're either pregnant or you are not pregnant. Okay? In the
At least
political
he
sense,
has shown
if I'm
something.
going to
Thomas
provide,
Falla is yet to show or anything
no,
about
no,
his financial standing.
financial statement, when you do a financial statement, you have an income and revenue. You cannot only show your revenue, I mean your income and not the revenue. If you show me that you have $1 million in your bank, the reason now that the United States is now requiring that number one way to send money, use some of money in Liberia, is to do it through the banking system.
All
So
right.
we can track where the money came from and all of that. So when you giving me your bank statement, it wouldn't show me your asset, but it does not show me your revenue, how you got that money, then it makes no sense. So Dara Dillon, you say he did something. No, he didn't go there to do something. He went there to do it.
All right. At least he did something, and Thomas Falla did not show or anything. We have to wrap on this subject, so let's come to winning it. You are saying, in essence, Falla is in this thing to win it. I know your prediction will be that he's going to win it, but tell me how massive it's going to be.
Well, I'm not in the numbers game. What I can predict, what I can give you as an educated guess is what I'm saying here. I've just given you the factors that makes a winner. And the number one factor there is the base that he had pre his administration is no longer there. Two, he has been, like you say, he has been outspent. And no one can tell you that financial violence does not pay off. It paid off somehow. You also talk about the endorsements. Endorsements have some legitimacy to it, no matter how you look at it. It says a lot. Some may be symbolic. For instance, let's look at Charlene Bronsky when she endorsed Thomas Falla. It tells you that there is something going
Mr.
on.
Given there's information that she did not endorse Thomas Falla. Did you double check that? I ran into a
double
post that
check.
said
What we are saying
that was fake news. Did you verify
no,
that? I'm just asking
listen.
because I don't know.
Yes, I have verified that. She came up with a second statement on social media that she did not endorse, officially endorse. Okay. And then as a lawyer, she was splitting hair. That's fine. But what we are saying here, just the fact that the founder of the Liberty Party, of which Dara Dillon is a candidate, okay, to be associated with the opposition and saying that a development and issues on which Falla stands
Mr. Gilman, why should you
is
be talking
better.
about this when there's no confirmation whatsoever that she actually did endorse Thomas Falla? Maybe we should be talking about Charles Sirleaf, who openly endorsed Thomas
No,
Falla, but
but I'm
the
also
mother, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, is questioning her son's decision for endorsing Thomas-Fallah. Don't you think that is a problem?
No, it's not. You cannot.
Why
If
would
you
it
and
be?
I'm a
Why you think it's not a
Republican.
problem when the very CDC, when the very Thomas-Fallah and others in the CDC have been at the throat of the slaves for quote unquote massive corruption in government, and then the people you accuse of corruption, then you are seeking endorsement from them. This is double standard, don't you think so?
No, it's not. No, it's not double standard. We are
Explain
talking
yourself.
about election. Is all about election. Is all about numbers. Okay.
So,
And
so you can
in
get
the
number from
political, in
anywhere.
the political, listen, in political parlance, you know that we say politics may string bedfellows. Yes, if I'm going to win by, if I need 100 votes to win, and followers of Charles Sally are sympathetic to his cause and follow him and give me 100 votes, I will take it. I will take it.
Mr. Gibbon,
So,
why you just said
uh,
something like Musa did telling us, even if the money will come from the devil, we would take it anyway. Don't you see it that way?
well, well, listen to this. If anybody tells you
Mm-hmm.
that what I'm telling you is not real, if Charles Sally had gone to, let's say, gone to dealers and say, I want to endorse you, you will take that. So I see nothing wrong with that. It is all trending towards a win. So now let's look at the youth wing, the most progressive wing of the Dara Dillon camp, the youth wing.
Right.
In November the 3rd, 17 youth leaders of the Liberty Party in all 17 districts said they did not like what they saw, that this man was not living up to the standard. All the promises made, they see something that they don't like, and the entire organization structure resigned. So
And
the
join the
combination of
CDC and
all,
endorse
and
Thomas-Fallah,
joined it,
just as
there you go.
COP, some youth leaders left and joined the
That's
CDC,
correct.
and I would think they
That's
might have
correct.
endorsed Fallah. Don't you see
That's
that
correct.
this pattern of chaos violence from Thomas-Fallah and the CDC has been on this explosive trend? I see desperation here on the side of CDC.
Well, and CDC has to be desperate, multiply that by 15. They have to be desperate in every corner. It's just like
Desperate in
you and
your own
myself.
stronghold, Mr. Gibbon?
You have to be, because when you are going into a fight, people tell you that you are overwhelmingly favored. No, you go in there and thinking as an underdog, and you are not there to leave any stone unturned. And I noticed this because we got burned the last time when Paulato we was running. CDC just got in the street, had a big party, and they went home and waited for the result. They got burned. This time around, they have turned into Jehovah Witnesses. They are now going door to door, camp to camp, slum to slum, building to building, trying to solicit votes. That's how election is done.
All right. Finally, Mr. Gibbon, the Fallah camp will always boast about tangibles, and that is the nickname of the Fallah's camp, tangible. The tangible we are talking about are just this man's personal properties. He has been in government for a little over 15 years. He has not been able to show us tangible from the government side. We're talking about legislative deliverables in his district that he has been representing for 15 years, except for his personal wealth and properties. Do you, Mr. Gibbon, consider those as tangible based on his legislative term in office?
I don't. I wanted to pull up all his legislative endeavors. I wanted to put out the 15 bills that he had written, that he had co-sponsored. 7 have passed into law. I wanted to read all to you,
No,
one
I'm
by
talking about
one.
tangibles because you
Yes,
guys will
no,
point
but
at his
but
personal properties as tangible, but when
but
it
listen
comes
to
to the
this.
legislative work, you don't want to show
Mhm.
us the tangibles. Go ahead.
The tangibles are there. When Thomas Falla built roads, you like Dara Dillon said, the road that was built between 72nd Street and Gibraltar, he said that road was stolen money from the government. That Thomas Falla has now become the public work minister for building roads. So those are tangible. Now let's talk about the private investment. The university. The university, from what we understand, has about 700 employees. That's
Mr. Gilman, I want you to tell
yes.
me about legislative tangibles, not his personal property.
No, but this is what I'm telling you. Let's say
Except you want to tell me he used public funds to build those tangibles. Then we can talk
no,
about that.
no, 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 not at all. This is what we are talking about. The job, Dollar Dillon says, the job of the legislature is not to build roads, not to build houses, but to pass law. And we are saying to him, he actually is naive. It's complete naivety. Legislators go to the Hill to lobby and bring development to
Social
their
development
district.
to their constituencies.
That's correct. So it's
Okay.
not only about lawmaking. So when Thomas Falla is building roads, is coordinating with the president, it doesn't mean that he's taking public money. But what he said at that debate that was very, very interesting and very, very factual. He said, I have been in the opposition before when I didn't like Ellen, but I worked with her and we brought development, we did things together. Say I was not as toxic. He said, but if Mr. Dillon wants to bring development, like Yeke Koluba and the other rest are doing, you need 16 other senators to pass any, when we're talking about any tangible or any meaningful transaction, okay? When we are even talking about people allocating funds, you need your partners to help you to pass those requests. Most of those bills usually die in committee room because you don't have the support. When you stand on the Senate floor and you call the rest of the senators spineless, they are useless. When the time comes for you to go back to them and say, I need my Zoko community bill, I need $100,000 or I need $300,000.
And you don't believe that the Senate has not been useful to Liberia? Do you
Oh,
not
the
believe that?
Senate has been very, very useful. We have a government that
Okay.
has been functioning for 200 years. So yes, they are doing something. Are they supposed to do more? Yes. In fact, one of the things that I thought Dillon would do is to break the monopoly in power in Liberia.
Thank
To
you.
actually put
He's been
together
there.
a
He been there for a little over a year. Thomas Falla have been there for 15 plus years. You are not asking Thomas Falla to break the monopoly that you're talking about, but you want Dillion to do it in less than 1 year, and I think that is not fair. But Mr. Gilman, you know we got a lot of topics to discuss. Folks, in
okay.
cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia on our program On Point. On Point is a weekly program here at Focus on Liberia, hosted by Mr. Jerome Gitman. His partner Edward Doe, the co-host, is not here. I'm answering questioning him today on some hot national issues. And as you can see, he is there with his propel cup, sweating from the tough questions that are coming from me. Mr. Gitman, let's come to the autopsy report. Is that autopsy report conclusive of the deaths of the 4 auditors that were suspiciously murdered, according to some people? Your take.
Well, thank you for the question on the autopsies.
Mm-hmm.
The autopsies, as you can see, they were professionally done, and the justice minister read them out. The only suspicion that I have is on Mr. Nyaswa. It is clear that he fell 13 feet on a concrete floor. That's suspicious to me. One of the disappointments that I had is at that particular news conference with over 200 journalists, nobody dug deeper. How is it possible that somebody in his own home would jump or slip to fall at that level? Who were with him at the time? Who were the last people that saw him? What happened to this young lady that accompanied him in, I guess, in his compound? I guess was or partners of his or companion of his that travel with him. What happens to her? Have they arrested her? Have they questioned her? Where is her whereabouts? None of those questions was asked.
Mr.
So
Gabriel,
I
let me
was,
bring your attention to this. What was the purpose and intent of the autopsy report? Was it to tell the cause of death, or was it intended to tell other killers? I think we are interested in who killed these people because many believe that they were killed. For example, the president said Gifty and Peter were killed. So I thought the autopsy, was the autopsy supposed to tell who killed them or how they died? What was it for?
well, an autopsy never tells you who kills whom.
Mm-hmm.
It only tells you how the person dies.
Mm-hmm.
So the autopsy tells you, for instance, that Mr. Nyaswa
Mm-hmm.
had a fractured skull
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a broken neck
Mm-hmm.
and trauma to the midsection,
Right.
and it is consistent with a fall
Mm-hmm.
where you land head first because
Mm-hmm.
your neck crushes and your body goes over. So your midsection will go over, your foot goes over your head. So yeah, it is consistent. The question that now the investigators have to find out is how, who, and when did this happen? So the autopsy, the scientific people did their job. They did the blood analysis. There were no foreign substance in there to say he was poisoned. None of that stuff. So
But,
obviously, the government, the investigator, he said they recommend that the CID takes over from here.
okay.
So it's a
So there will
credible.
be criminal investigation now that the cause of death uh, have been established on these four auditors. Let me bring your attention to the cause of death for Abbott and Gifty. According to the autopsy reports, uh, carbon monoxide was responsible for their deaths. And these are adults that were in a car on Broad Street. And so if at any time the carbon monoxide was generating into the car, were they asleep to not have noticed that there was carbon monoxide piling up in the car, and they did not have the ability to be able to open the door and get outside? Do you not find that suspicious and questionable, that autopsy report that carbon monoxide killed them? Do you not find that troubling?
Oh no, definitely. I mean, we have to be honest here.
Right.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
unless it was a double suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, unless they decided to kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at the timeline, that okay, these people parked their car almost 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I just cannot find the logic in them sitting in the car, okay, for that long of a time,
Mm-hmm.
even with the carbon monoxide, based on what we heard from Musa Dane, that somebody came and gave them a ticket for being parked in the wrong spot too long.
Mm-hmm.
And they said someone came and questioned them, and the gentleman opens the door, and he disoriented with substance coming out of his nose, but was conscious enough to tell the guy, leave us alone. I find that to be very troubling. So I was expecting the media, that's their job. These questions you are asking, those were questions that I am prepared. I am sure that Musa Dean was prepared to answer most of these questions, but the people let him off the hook because these are legitimate questions that even an elementary school person will ask. How can these people sit there for 12 hours? Person came out with an eye red, something coming from their noses or from his nose, from his nostril, tells you to leave them alone, and you leave, and nobody called the police, nobody did anything.
Mr.
But
Gitman,
people, yes.
Mr. Gitman, you may have a point that journalists could not ask follow questions, but I don't want to beat on the journalists on this. That is why we have the professionals, the police in particular. They have the CID unit that should be able to initiate a criminal investigation, given the suspicions regarding or surrounding these people deaths. It being over a month now, going to 2 months now, there has not been any no preliminary report from the police. Does this show, Mr. Gimen, that the police too does not have interest in this case whatsoever?
Well, if anybody came to that conclusion, I wouldn't blame them for coming to that conclusion
Mhm.
because what because before the autopsy report came out, there were a lot of report on social media and from the different families.
Mhm.
For instance, the wife of Mr. Peters was on another talk show for an hour,
Mhm.
and she gave a lot of pointers. And even she, as the wife, you and I know if something happens to you in your home or
Mhm.
wherever you are, the
Right.
first suspect will be you, or if it happened to you, your wife. Those are the people that will be firstly investigated. We don't know whether the wife has been brought in, whether she has been questioned. We don't know whether the ex-husband or Gifty have been brought in and questioned. We also know that Gifty separated from her husband 6 months prior to this event happening. So there were a lot of questions that happened. What happened to the retreat that they went to? What happened at that retreat? Why did they have 10 gallons, 5 gallons of gasoline in the back of their car? Were they going all the time on a long distance trip that they needed these gas? Or why the gas got it? None of these questions was asked. So I'm saying, what is the purpose for the case that have captivated not only Liberia but the international community? The number one job of journalism is to discover the facts,
Mr.
and nobody said.
Mr. Gimen, still talking about the suspicion, surrounding the death of these auditors, talking about Abbott and Gifty here in particular. It was reported that on the very day they were discovered dead in the car, St. Moses, the head of the St. Moses Funeral Home, was seen.
That's correct.
We also heard that the LRA boss, Thomas Donald, if this is true, was present on that very day, starting with St. Moses. Who called him in the first place? The family also said that they did not make a decision for the body to be taken to St. Moses. Did anybody, in your opinion, have the right to request them be taken to St. Moses Funeral Home other than the family? Do you think anybody has that right to do so other than the family?
Well, these are all information and questions that are lingering
Mm-hmm.
because, from what I understand from the government side,
Mm-hmm.
before the police even arrived,
Right.
the wife was on the scene. She had opened the car. She had moved the car.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things, we are talking about contaminating evidence here. People were opening the car, looking in, taking pictures. They were doing all of that. And before the police got there, they said St. Moses has already arrived. So the question is, who called St.
Who
Moses?
called St. Moses?
And who called St. Moses? And my own investigation, private investigation that I have done, found out that the wife of Mr. Peters is the former wife of St. Moses. I didn't know that. So there is a lot of connection here. We want to know, did she call her ex-husband, come and
And
pick up?
Mr. Gabriel, I asked you the question earlier that the police is not showing interest because there are a lot of connections, one of which you just pointed out. I didn't know that piece of it. Why is the police not asking these individuals and, in fact, going as far as considering them as suspect in the first place? My understanding is that all these individuals that are connected to the deaths, they are all free men and women today. Why?
And as a supporter and defender of this administration, I want to make the separation between the administration and the police arm of what's happening here. I am saying to myself that the CID, they investigate, if they are not doing what we are talking about here,
Mhm.
then they're doing the administration of this justice or injustice. It is not right that the public at this point doesn't have any information as far as who have been investigated, who are arrested, who are considered people of interest. Nothing. All the justice minister talked about that were arrested were basically petty thieves that are all over the place. Saw this as an opportunity to rob someone or steal something, which they did. Stole four laptops. I mean, laptop, four cell phones. Took the man pants wallet with $30 inside, and they know who these people were, and they have been charged and awaiting trial. I think it was the weakest link in that explanation,
Certainly. Certainly.
and
And
nobody,
Mr.
nobody.
Gimet, still talking about further suspicions surrounding these deaths. We also heard from the sister of Gifty. I heard from her. She spoke live, and she said when they were first prevented from seeing the body at the funeral home and then later on at the hospital, according to her. And she said there were bruises on the body of these individuals. And the government, I mean, has not been able to deny or confirm it. Have you heard anything regarding this particular piece of it, that there were bruises on their body? Something suggesting foul play here.
Well, these are all. I like to be as factual as we can.
Mm-hmm.
You saw what the justice minister said. Uh, the autopsy was done in public,
Mm-hmm.
in plain view of. I think there were about 7 organizations and family members, and I think some of the family members refused to attend the autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
So what they are talking about there would be something that it would, to me, would be gossip, because what the autopsy are looking for when someone dies, like you said, bruises uh, of significance. We're not talking about handling of the person. We're talking about major bruises. We talk about fracture. We talk about contusion. Those are hard impact evidence that somebody needs to look at. So when folks are talking about bruises, it is so vague. If you, even when you are unconscious, and you got 2 or 3 people holding your hand and lifting you up and moving you from place to place, there could be bruises here and there. But how deep is that bruise to cause contusion? So when we say bruises, it's so vague. That's what I'm saying to them. I would not go with that. I would like to look at the facts, which is how could these people be in a spot for almost 12 hours and they stay in the car unless they committed suicide together. It just doesn't resonate with me that 2 people, smart people, healthy folks, are going to sit there for 12 hours without getting out of the car. So I find that there are more questions that we need to dig a little deeper. I don't think the family, one of the mistakes the families are making is that they are disengaging, okay, get to the bottom of it. They say we won't take part, but then they are coming up with suggestions and making remarks. That's not how it should be done. They should follow this to a logical conclusion by being engaged. I would have asked for the blood sample. I would have done my own separate autopsy. I would have done my own blood test and blood analysis, and to see whether everything they are saying are adding up. But so far, the families are not doing that.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Jerome Gitman there. He is the host of On Point, a program that is weekly air here at Focus on Liberia, and his co-host is Mr. Edward Doe. Mr. Doe is not in today, so as a host here at Focus on Liberia, I am questioning him on the hot national issues that are unfolding in the motherland, Liberia. Folks in cyberspace, you saw we were just showing you pictures of former Associate Justice Kabina Janet. Kabina Janet is a guest today on Focus on Liberia. I repeat, Focus on Liberia is having an exclusive interview with former Associate Justice Kabina Janet. That show comes on 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That is about an hour from now. I repeat, Kabina Janet will be here today on Focus on Liberia. Let me share with you quickly what we will be discussing with His Honor former Associate Justice Kabinan Janan. We will be talking about his early life. We will talk about his public life and public service. We will talk about any connection he may have had with warring factions in the past. We will talk about the impeachment. We will talk about his life after being impeached from the Supreme Court. And we also want to know what is his future politically or in terms of his profession as a lawyer. And finally, we will discuss with Cabinet Janet referendum 2020. The Supreme Court gave a ruling. He is a lawyer. He's been in that seat before. He will be explaining to us what that decision means and what that decision means or that ruling means. And you do not want to miss it. Live here at Focus on Liberia at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Justice Cabinet Janet will be here. Jerome Gibman will be watching and he will be swallowing some spit during that interview because Mr. Janet will be in a hot seat. Folks in cyberspace, of course, this is Focus on Liberia and you are watching On Point. Mr. Gibman, let's come to our final issue to call the day here. Photos of election ballot boxes are flying on social media. Focus on Liberia has now been able to verify the truthfulness of these images that are flying on social media, on Facebook. And these things are troubling, Mr. Gilman, given where we are coming from as a country. If one lesson we can learn, that lesson is messing with elections. We should learn that lesson. And so for pictures of boxes containing containing ballot papers, bust open and flying on social media. This is troubling. Mr. Gibman, is there anything you know about this? Have you heard anything?
Mr. C, as a journalist, as an educated person, very brilliant young man, you know that we will take what's on social media for a grain of salt. Okay. These are folks who have learned from the best. They learned from Donald Trump. You delegitimize the election before it's even held. He said, if I don't win, and I'm a Republican, and I'm saying this, the tactic was, well, if I don't win, then the election. You told me
that Trump was going to win. Now you are conceding. Trump will concede. Go ahead.
Well, no, Trump has conceded. We know January 20th, your guy is going to be in power.
Why?
Biden is going to be there.
What kind of concessions are you talking about? Is that the alternative one as to alternative facts?
Well, remember what brought Trump to power. Trump is the anti-establishment, and the anti-establishment has a way of doing things. And he had told you that he's not going to do that. He would do it on his own way. All right. You saw he delayed GSA from providing services to Biden on his own terms.
Let's leave your man Trump. Let's come to this election.
Yeah, so I'm just telling you what's happening with the election boxes. Now, who are those that are privy to this kind of information that were there to see this? So Darius Dillon and the CPP, now they are seeing their defeat. And I can reference this, I can preface this by what Mr. Cummings said 2 days ago. He said, anything less than a victory for certainly in Maserati, it is unacceptable. And if the administration rigged this election for us to lose, he will have pushed the Liberian people to the point of rebellion.
Oh, Mr. Gilman, you know that's a political bluff. Your party, CDC, did the same thing when it was in opposition.
Well, I'm only telling you that based on what he said and based on what they have just done, I know you say you didn't have it, but when Honorable Janet come on, hopefully you can ask him, because the CPP had now gone to the ECOWAS court, and you say you couldn't verify, and I know you will, but the intent here is that they are seeing the trend that these political giants like Dillion-Fallah and all of our people in the 15 counties, when you go to my hometown or Grand Bassa County, you see Bezaga Finley and the other guys are doing very well.
Is Alex Tyler one of your political giants?
Oh yeah, well, he's a giant
Are
in
you
the sense
comfortable
that,
with him?
listen, he's our candidate. It is not a matter
I'm
of being
asking a question,
comfortable.
Mr. Gaiman.
It
Are you
is,
comfortable with that
I
candidate?
support. We support all our 15 candidates. Has nothing to do with you being comfortable with the person. I may not be comfortable, but he's our man. Tottenham used to say, "I may not be the man you want, but I'm the man you got." So likewise, Tyler may not be the man that you like, that I like, but he's the man that we got. He won the primary, so he's
Mr.
the man.
Gaiman,
So
it seems to be the CDC, the Party of Change, the claim, is abetting and abetting bad behavior and promoting people with questionable characters in our ballot politics. Don't you see that as very unfortunate?
it is very unfortunate when our entire legislature is filled of former warlords. Even the judges, Supreme Court, have former warlords
And,
on
and,
it.
and
So,
one of those warlords having to be Prince Johnson, who is now the godfather of our current president and a kingmaker on the side of the CDC. I saw him with a CDC banner. Can you show your CDC banner? Let me see that.
well,
And
I got
so
my
you and Prince Johnson are now wearing the same barrel, so to speak, and going with the same emblem. Are you are you comfortable with the Prince Johnson's guy? Really? Is this the best
Prince,
you can do as a party?
Prince Johnson have one of these.
And I know, and that's what I'm asking you. And you are holdingly, you see so certified doing it. But Prince Johnson, we saw him in a military uniform with a CDC bearer. This is just introducing the terrible memories that many victims continue to experience today. And to see CDC is the one doing this, Mr. Gaiman, that is troubling. Do you not see it that way?
Well, what is troubling is when I see Samuel Johnson, that was a general in the Chancellor killing machine. When I see Mr. Cooper, General Mosquito, his name was when he was killing folks. When I see all of these people in the Senate, when I see Nyobli Kanga was the wife
Mr. Gaiman,
of,
is that the justification you can come up with for you having Prince Johnson almost like
well,
a member of your party and campaigning for
what
your candidate? Is that the best you
what
can come up with?
what's the difference between Nyobli Kanga, who was the wife of Siri Ali, who was actually the operator king for the MPFL? What happened to Samuel Johnson? What happened to Cooper? All of
Mr.
these for
Gaiman,
what?
you are more
They, they,
slinging
no,
a
no.
lady for her past relationship. Do you think this is fair politics?
Oh, she was the wife of the general. So what? She's part of that. You brought it up. You said that Alice Tyler and Prince Johnson, they are tarnished goods. If that is the case, then let's look at the Senate. Let's do the same measurement. These people, including the vice president, she's in my party. But I'm telling you, she was the wife of the notorious Charles Taylor. So there is enough blame here to go around. If we were excluding people that participated in the war, Kabina Jenner that is coming out here, he was a leader in the warring faction. So what is it we're gonna do? There is nobody in Liberia besides you and myself that never took part in the war. They all did, with the exception of His Honor George Manawia.
All right. Even though Josh Manawia has been accused by the tough talking Yeke Koloba, accusing the president of being a supporter of Model, and he claimed it was a warring faction that he fought for, and he saw George Weah. But that remains an accusation. It has not been proven. But we have not heard the president deny this. Let me read some questions quickly. We have passed 1 hour, which is the time allotted. Let me read comments quickly, and then we get your response, and we close this. This one is from Mark Belly. What is your argument? Because Fallah did not refuse appearing before Daros for investigation. I'm not having an argument, I'm asking questions. Are Blambo, CDC, or the COP with will not save Liberia? I think that's what he meant here. Moses Sankui is a victory for Fallah. Somebody's claiming victory here. The only thing that will save Liberia, Liberians have to change their mindset. I don't know their mindset thing. I'm tired hearing the mindset. Mary and Hill, right? Mr. Gaiman, you are lying for T5. CPP is together and ADD will beat T5 like a market dog. All right, let me see any other comment here. This one is from the man Kessely Double. I thought I saw Kessely Double comment here. It disappeared from me. I hope I can find it again. Sam Waller writes, there is a way to verify his assets. The media can go to court to request his assets disclosure, his assets disclosure. The law allows for that, he writes. Do we have to go through that headache for a man claiming to be transparent? The man who is claiming that he's running on the platform integrity. Lydia Brahenra, shameless old man. This is the kind of older Liberian that has to nothing nothing decent to show. This writer met. Well, you don't talk to people like that. Mr. Gilman is an eloquent, a decent young man. To say that, no, don't say that. That is not a nice thing to say to a fellow Liberian. Francis B. Alright, the entire debate between Dillion-Fallah was a total disaster and unprofessional. The audience shouldn't have, he should have said, shouldn't have wore their party t-shirt, and they never respected any of the ground rules for the debate. Organizer to 10 to 12 minutes to introduce each. All right. Those are few comments. I saw one from Kesali Double. He is an ardent follower of Focus on Liberia. I wanted to read that, but I can't find it because the comments are flowing. Mr. Gilman, 1 hour, 5 minutes past our usual time. And by the way, I'm giving you A plus today. You were able to stay the course with these tough questions. Any final thoughts on the issues that are happening in Liberia, and then we can close the broadcast, sir?
Well, I am asking and appealing to all my folks in Bassa to vote based on our feeling. I am asking all the CDCNs, all supporters, sympathizers to show up and vote for T5 for our pro-poor agenda to go unhindered. We need numbers. You cannot support the president and then send in opposition to be in the government. We need the numbers to pass our social agenda. We need our roads built. We need our schools built. So we are asking all CDCNs to show up. It's another thing to show up at a rally, and it's another thing to go to the poll. So we have to go to the polls. And lastly, we want to appeal to our audience here that On Point is we are in flux. We are looking for a suitable time that Mr. Doe and myself will be able to accommodate our audience in Liberia. As usual, when we come on 4, 5 o'clock, it's 8, 9 o'clock in Liberia, and it's very difficult to get folks on. So we are in flux. Hopefully between 12 and 4, we will be able to have a time slot where we can continue the debate. We want to thank you for tuning in. We want to thank you for taking time off, Mr. C. to be so committed to what you do. We appreciate you, and thank you to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Geron Gedman. Again, is the host of On Point here at Focus on Liberia, and he is also an unabashed and apologist of the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change. He doesn't shy away from that. You see him showing his Pro-Poor Corp and a CDC banner, something he shares in common with Prince Yomi Johnson, an indictee of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's report. But that is not what we are here for. Folks, this is how we will conclude the broadcast here at Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony C.A., and I brought you this edition of On Point, asked the man who asked the questions. I want to remind you, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That is like in the next 45 minutes, or actually 43 minutes. Focus on Liberia will be live with Justice Kabina Janet. Mr. Kabina Janet will be here live on Focus on Liberia in a hot seat, taking some serious and tough questions, and he is prepared for the discussion, and you do not want to make it. And then at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Focus on Liberia is running a program here called The Liberian Woman. We want to get to know the Liberian woman contribution in decision making in the home and also in politics. You do not want to miss it. Our women are powerful. Our women are smart and they bring a lot to the table, and you don't want to miss hearing from them. On that note, folks, in cyberspace, my name is Anthony Sie, and thank you for watching us here on the program On Point. Our song that said we are all Liberians is coming your way. Listen to it 1 minute while you prepare to listen to Kabina Jana by 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye bye, folks.
We all Liberians.